Socrates is asking Euthyphro to explain the justice of his prosecution of Euthyphro's own father, is a pretext for an examination of the nature of righteousness and really of justice and right and wrong. That is, in order to show that Euthyphro's prosecution is righteous, Socrates asks him to explain the nature of righteousness or holiness, to define it, and thence launches the traditional Socratic dialogue. Euthyphro puts forward three definitions. The first is simply, "What I am doing, Socrates, following the example of my god Zeus." This is a extensional definition, right? Definition by example. And Socrates finds it very dissatisfying, because what he wants is a intentional definition by concept, a standard, such that he can hold the standard up to any alleged example of holiness or unholiness, or righteousness or unrighteousness, and tell by that standard whether that action is or isn't just. Socrates, after explaining this, again asks Euthyphro to try to define the nature of holiness. And now Euthyphro comes up with his first intentional definition, that the holy is what gods love, or what the god loves, or simply divine approval. A very popular theory about right and wrong, which is still endorsed by major monotheistic world religions today. They simply have less gods than Euthyphro had. Now, Socrates, living in a polytheistic culture, immediately brings up another problem. What if the gods disagree? Don't you agree that the poets tell us that the gods have strife and enmity amongst each other? And Euthyphro has to agree. Would it then follow that the same action could be both holy and unholy at the same time? An awkward result if you're looking to divine approval for guidance on what to do and what not to do. So Euthyphro has to revise his definition. And since he's not going to consider cutting down the number of gods, he proposes divine consensus. The holy is what all the gods approve. This is Euthyphro's second intentional definition. Yeah. Now, Socrates could focus on what kind of special pipeline to Mount Olympus Euthyphro has, how he would know that all the gods approve. But it occurs to him, and he says this in the dialogue, that even if he granted, for sake of argument, that all the gods approve of what Euthyphro is doing, that still doesn't explain the nature of the right and wrong. Socrates asks, is something holy because the gods approve of it or love it? Or do the gods love it because it is holy? The underlying point being that divine approval would simply be perhaps a marker, not the cause or the nature of what is right and wrong. It is, yes, the gods are righteous. They would therefore all approve of righteous things, but they approve because those things are right. And now there has to be some underlying reason why the god or the gods approve of what they approve. And if there is no underlying reason, if in Euthyphro and Socrates' polytheistic context, it's just a happy accident that the gods happen to all agree on a particular thing, Then again, Euthyphro has no criterion such that he could pick any action and decide whether it was holy or unholy, righteous or unrighteous. And the same would go for a monotheistic religion. If there isn't any underlying reason why God approves of what God approves, then morality might be arbitrary. Divine approval in itself would not answer the question, what should be approved and what not. Because God might be arbitrary. Now, back to Euthyphro in the polytheistic context. At this point in the discussion, Euthyphro says, I don't know how to answer you because whenever I set my words down, I can't make them stop moving around. Socrates says, I'm not making them move around. I'd have to be greater than the inventor Daedalus in order to make them move on their own. For Daedalus's inventions moved by themselves. But you'd be saying that I am moving your inventions or making your inventions move by themselves. The underlying point being, they're your words, Euthyphro. You're the one who gave this definition, and here are the logical consequences that you don't like. This happens frequently in Socratic dialogues. You think you know what's what, and then this person, Socrates, comes along and asks you a few questions, and suddenly you're confused. And of course, a natural reaction is to say, well, Socrates, you're confusing me. But what Socrates says, when he says, I'm not greater than Daedalus, what he means is, they're your words, right? If you find you're confused now, maybe you were always confused all along, and you simply didn't know it yet until now. In the second part of the dialogue, Socrates takes the lead and makes a proposal about the nature of the holy. He suggests that the holy is a part of justice, that justice in general concerns giving others their due, and holiness in particular involves giving the gods their due. But then arises the new question, how do you give the gods their due? If the gods are perfect and have need of nothing, which seems to be the presupposition that Plato depends on, then what could you possibly offer them? Socrates points out that it seems like a rather one-sided bargain, very much favoring the human side, for the gods already have everything they need, and the humans require their blessing and guidance and protection. So the humans get something out of the religious transaction, if you will, and the gods really don't get anything out of it, since they're already perfect and have need of nothing. Right? Socrates ends up asking Euthyphro, what is it that the gods achieve using us as their servants? And Euthyphro can only play a rhetorical trick, a kind of a rhetorical sleight of hand, and answer with what humans get out of it, get out of holiness, the gods' protection and blessing. And so, all right, Socrates says, again, you have not explained to me the nature of the holy. Try once more. Okay. And after a few more rounds of this, Euthyphro gives up, says, some other time, Socrates, I've got to go. And the dialogue ends with Socrates never having an answer to his question other than the one that he himself vaguely suggested in the last third of the dialogue, that holiness is a species of justice, and that justice is a matter of giving others what they deserve.